Hi, you're listening to Childless and Moving Onward. This is the place where we talk about thriving in life when you're a woman who is childless, not by choice, regardless of the road that brought you to childlessness. Welcome to episode 21 of Childless and Moving Onward. I'm Gail Miller, your host. I'm a life coach, physician, and speaker. I'm a life coach helping women who are childless not by choice to feel whole, to live fulfilling lives. I am incredibly excited about this episode because with me I have Niki Allinson. She is a qualified life coach with a Master's of Arts in Human Services Counseling with a life coaching specialization. There's many special things about Nikki, but one of the things I truly love is her creativity and her creations. Her artwork focuses on kind of what it is to be childless not by choice. What I have seen. She probably has other artwork, but what I have seen are her creations revolving around being childless, and they really resonate. They really hit in my heart. I can feel it. They just speak to me and to so many other women who are childless not by choice. So with that, I am going to let Nikki speak and tell us all about you.
Oh goodness, that's so kind. Thank you. Ah, wow, that was really great to hear. Thank you so much for
All
sharing all of
true.
that, and thanks for having me. Thank you. Thanks for having me here. I'm excited to be here as well. I've been following you for a while and your story, and so it's just really amazing to be able to connect with you in this way. And we've collaborated before, but I'm really excited to be involved and invited to join you on this podcast. So thanks for that. About me. So I'm Niki Allinson. I post on Instagram under at Well Then She Created. And yes, I consider myself a doodle artist. I am a creative spirit, and so doodling is a huge part of how I exercise my creative expression. So, and I do have other work, but for that account, yes, that's the kind of the focus and emphasis is on that childless experience and the journey of childlessness. Yeah.
I love how you refer to it as doodling, and I look at it and I just see honestly masterpieces because
Aw.
they really convey the childless experience beautifully. So to you, they're just doodles. To the rest of us, they speak volumes and really beautifully express what this journey feels like.
Gosh, that's so kind of you to say. Thank you. Yeah, I it is doodling for me. I've always been a bit of a person that has to doodle or have, in meetings, I'm scrawling on papers as people are talking. Or I remember growing up in church, my mom would take all of us kids to church, and she always pulled out a notepad and pencil to keep us kind of occupied, through the service. And she would draw sometimes, and I just remember sitting with her, and she'd be drawing like the lesson, or just little trees and flowers. And I think it just sort of integrated into like who I am, as an outlet for things. So I'm always, if I'm at work in a meeting, scribbling on a notepad, or through school, doodling on pieces of paper. So yeah, it's, I think it's just a part of. I am creative in other ways, but it's definitely my favorite way to release, and to, I don't know, occupy my mind, I guess.
Yeah.
So express myself through that way.
Well, you express it beautifully.
Thanks.
So
Thank you.
what tell us what brought you to creating Well Then She Created and how it all came to be.
Yeah, that is a whole long journey. But to summarize it, so I'm childless not by choice, but I also, by way of endometriosis. So I had stage 4 endometriosis. I had my first surgery to remove bilateral cysts in 2013 on my ovaries. And then in 2022, I had a hysterectomy, so a total hysterectomy. So throughout that experience, there was also a whole life journey as well happening. So my journey is also a mix of childless not by choice, but also by circumstance. There's my partner and our career and where we were geographically and financially and emotionally, and where we were in our marriage. There were times where ambivalence played a factor in our journey. We did explore other alternatives, like infertility treatments, and went through some testing. We explored adoption, and ultimately the journey resulted in being involuntarily childless. At some point after my 40th birthday, I really just hit a wall. It was just sheer exhaustion from the journey. And I had to look for other ways to sort of care and nurture myself. And I just felt like I had tried my hardest and had gotten nowhere on a fruitless pursuit of this motherhood, this dream of motherhood. So through that, I did decide to go back to school. And I always say the school saved my life. I went back and finished my AA. And then I began, a few years later, I went back to school and finished my bachelor's of arts in psychology. And I think through that journey, it just really, by way of, your education, just learning and finding new resources, it really had opened up a world of opportunity, in terms of how to cope better with what was going on in my journey, just how to nurture myself through that grief. And so with all of that, there was a point where I developed this mantra, because I hit a point where I had a question. Okay, if not motherhood, like what now? What's next? And so my plan B kind of started with a question. It was just more like, well, then answering that question of what next? Well, then she dot, 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 finished the journey. So it became a bit of a mantra for me, in the sense that I went back to school. Well, then she found new hobbies or revived old hobbies and found new interests. And so that's kind of how the Well Then She handle on Instagram came about. It was just a personal mantra that kind of took me to here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I love that. I didn't know.
Yeah. And then, well, then she created. That was the other aspect of it, because the creative outlet has always been a strong theme through my
Yeah.
journey. So, yeah, well, then she created, and that's how that came about.
Okay.
Yeah,
Which also led to us creating,
connecting.
connecting and creating an event that was, yeah,
Yes.
be,
Oh, we did. We
yes,
created and collaborated on a workshop. That was incredible. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So that whole thing, after my hysterectomy, I hadn't shared much of my story or anything, publicly at all. And I didn't want to do so on my own social media accounts that I had with, family and friends, people in my daily life. Just looking to sort of put it out there into the world. I had started sharing my art. I started doodling on my iPad and healing, after my surgery. And I had created the Well Then She Created account, and it opened up such um, an incredible world of connection for me, in the sense that I finally started seeing, communities existed that I had no idea existed, and more representation of childless people. And I was able to connect with you and, have conversations, and it was just really healing, having that experience, particularly because I had come so far to work through all of that on my own. But once I had my hysterectomy, the finality of that really triggered that wave of, it was just a tidal wave of grief initially. And so through that, it was really helpful to have just more community support.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so many stages and layers to the pain. And
Yeah.
just when you think I'm in a great place,
The
or
wave.
even not, I'm in a good place, like, and
Yeah.
then something changes. And
Yeah.
yeah,
But honestly, had I not done all of that work prior to the hysterectomy, I don't know I would have coped as well through that. It did trigger the wave. It was there, but I had the tools and the resources. I had a creative outlet, and then I had through social media and these communities, I had more social connection and community. So around that isolating journey, and so I think I would not have been able to navigate that swell of grief as with as much resilience as I was able to do it. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Those,
had I not
yeah,
already gone through that. Yeah.
yeah. Those tools are, they're a necessity. They're life saving, and so is community.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I find, and I don't know if this was your thought as well, but I really thought, okay, I'm the only woman in the world who's childless and, doesn't want to be, because I'm surrounded by people who have children, and whether it's like family or social leave or work. And so that community um is vital, because one, you need other people around that you can communicate with, who get kind of what you're going through. And it's so important to know, yeah, that I'm not alone, and there's nothing wrong with me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I hear you. You're right. It's such an isolating experience, and you feel like a complete misfit. And, for me, I had this sense that everyone's life was starting or moving on. And I was just kind of like in this stuck waiting in this, like I'm just waiting for my life to begin. And it was really hard to navigate that and then mask through it like everything is fine, everything is great. And so really resisting, for me, I didn't even realize it was grief until I had kind of gone through school and learn more about coping and how, just my experience altogether, in how we develop and process things. And so that's why I say it was life saving for me, But you ask the question, like you get to a point where you're like, what now? And that I had a really hard time answering. And so I did start looking around to see, well, what are women doing if they're not being moms and having families, and what are they doing? So I was really looking for that representation, and I wasn't finding it until I started joining these communities and getting out there and connecting in the online space and sharing my story, and just really, and then it was really empowering, because then I'm seeing how women were empowering themselves and rewriting their narrative and really taking ownership of their story. And so it was really inspiring to me.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Yeah.
So, what do you see, like, your future
Whew.
as with this your creative journey? Because you
Yeah.
have so much to offer, to not just women who are childless, but in general, but particularly to this particular group of women who often
Yeah.
don't have the support that they should have.
Good question. Yeah. So it's been an interesting evolution, because I mainly create for myself, and then I started doing some doodling work and sharing their digital illustration on Procreate and on my iPad and sharing it online. And so I am exploring other ways for how to support childless communities through creative activities. And gratitude doodling is one thing that I promote now. It's a part of my wellness routine, and I feel like there's an opportunity for everyone to really integrate creativity and nurture their creativity throughout their childless journey. And so I really want to promote more wellness, like holistic wellness through that. Um, I think that, grief can be a catalyst for creativity, but it can also block your creative flow as well. And that's why I love the doodling aspect. Is so, that's a great place to start. It can respark, and refuel the creative energy. Um, so ideally, I would love to open up, a community and provide space for childless creatives who might even be multi-passionate, because I'm a multi-passionate creative myself, to explore their creativity through grief, and nurture that through grief, just as a creative self-care practice, whether that is through doodling or art or writing, journaling, whatever the medium is that they prefer, but just providing a space for that. So that's something I'm kind of working on at the moment for myself to be able to provide that opportunity for other people.
And you did have a good start with that with our event. You provided that. What what sort of experience does somebody need to have to, I mean, before you create this community, and I know you will, um, even whether they start with that community or they start on their own beforehand, what do they, like, what background do they need to have? What do they need to know?
Yeah, so it's interesting with creativity. The way that I feel about it, and from what I understand about our human nature and the creative process, is I really feel like we all have a form of creative expression. Maybe the medium changes throughout your journey. Mine certainly has. When I was younger, it was, through piano, and then I explored painting and pottery and digital photography and journaling, and so the medium changes for me. But what I find to be empowering is just that sense that I am creating, that I'm nurturing that part of myself. It's a form of expression. It's an outlet for me to share my perspective in a way that doesn't get silenced. I feel like so much of the childless journey is a silencing experience, dismissive. There's that disenfranchised grief that sort of occurs when you're having this experience and people are just really placating you with, or dismissing you, with the platitudes, and oh, you'll be fine, or oh, just hang in there, or focus on the positive and all that stuff. So it's always, I've leaned into creative expression throughout my journey. And it's interesting because as I do that, I always end up finding new parts of myself and getting a chance to explore something new. I learn something new about myself. And so I don't think that you need to be a skilled artist or have a knack for it. I think you should lean into what brings you joy to start with. What's sparking that joy, what sparks that creative energy or inspiration, and then lean into that. And as you do, what I found in my journey is it sort of paves the way. Like, it shows me when I lean into my creativity and creative expression, it sort of is the guiding light. It shines a light on the path ahead for for the opportunities that I can explore. And so, yeah, I think just learning about how you like to express yourself creatively through movement, through music. Some people are connectors and collaborators, so I think we create in different ways. Some people like to cook. So, there's a lot of ways we can express our creativity.
So if someone, like, they've never been done anything creative, or they have and they feel like I have no skills at this,
Yeah.
but I want to give it a try. What one step can they take to just move themselves in that direction?
That's a good question. I would say begin with identifying what brings you joy. When just really that self reflection. When do you feel creative? When do you feel sort of expansion? What's sparking that? What are you doing? Sometimes, for my husband for years, he would say, "Oh, I'm not creative at all." But he was an avid hiker and loved mountain bike and snowboard. And so for me, I felt like, in talking to him, I said, I think movement is your form of creative expression. And so even now in his journey, he does woodworking and loves it and makes beautiful furniture. And our house is way too small, and it's getting filled with all of his beautiful creations. Um, but I said, even in the work he's doing with the woodworking, there's movement in that. And so just really taking time to reflect, and to start small trial, try things out. Creative activities like doodling or color, the Zen doodling or coloring, a lot of journaling. Are you a writer? Maybe that's your form of creative expression. Just really trying to take note of how you like to express yourself. You know,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
Thoughts?
I love that you brought that up about with your husband, because so I am someone who has always said I'm not creative. And so that really like resonated that you said that, because I never would have thought, oh yeah, kind of flip it and look at it in a different way. Like, you like to hike and you like movement, and that is a way of creatively expressing yourself. And
Yeah,
I never, that never would have come to my mind. Um, so I really love that you brought that up, because it hit me how, we need to think outside the box, right? I mean, and we should kind of, in a way, be used to that, because we've looked at motherhood our whole lives and expected to find purpose in that. And what we now need to flip on is think outside the box in terms of purpose and identity. We can have purpose and have an identity outside of motherhood. So, yeah, you bringing that up really, one, helps to turn into what we had talked a little bit about earlier, which is the identity issue, but also really helped me personally to think about there's other ways to be creative. And so
yeah.
thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome.
But I also would like to kind of lead into what we spoke about in beforehand, which is like how the creativity can help in us redefining our own identity away from, okay, we're not going to be moms, but also our identity is more than just being childless. I mean, that's not how we have to be stuck identifying
Right.
ourselves.
Absolutely.
Tell me a little bit more about like how the creativity um really can help with that.
Yeah. So for me, for my personal journey, I would say it started with curiosity. I think the question came where I said, okay, you get to a place of acceptance. This isn't going to happen. I'm not going to get there. Um, I feel done trying. What now? If this is going to be, the result, childlessness, what now? What next? Then what? And so for me, it was just answering that question. And I thought, okay, well, then, well, then what are women doing? And then I'm like, she's doing this. She's writing, her story. She's sharing her message. She's found a platform. And so many of those journeys resulted in like a creative, whether it was a podcast or coaching or a book, community building. Some people are natural connectors, and I feel like that communication, figuring out that's a creative effort, trying to collaborate and connect and build community. So there's just so many opportunities, and I think that's where I started. It opened my eyes, and I started looking around and thinking, well, how can I participate in that? What do I have to offer? What do I have to give? How do I enjoy creating? And I'm a multi-passionate person, and so it's an ongoing journey, and I think it always comes back and starts with curiosity and exploration. And then, as a multi-passionate, sometimes I get into something and I love it, and then a minute later I'm like, ready to move on. So, I think really identifying what interests I have, and by way of narrowing out what I've been bored with, or what doesn't resonate anymore. I think it's totally okay to give myself a freedom to change mediums. It doesn't mean anything. It just means that I'm still in my journey of exploration. And right now, this is what it is. This is what it looks like. But I think the creative journey is about that. It's exploring new parts of yourself. Yeah. So giving myself a permission to do that. But I do always come back to the doodling. I think that's such a good, it's a great way to ground yourself. So having that as a part of your practice, just having that as a part of a wellness routine, it gives you an outlet, you know. Yeah, in a stressful meeting, you are going to see me drawing on a notepad. So I'm going to be, doodling my heart out. So at work, it's just a great way to ground yourself. It helps establish, increase your mindfulness, and it's just a form of self care. It has been in my journey. But did I answer that question?
You did. And actually, well, I can't doodle when I'm in meetings at work anymore because it's all by Zoom or video. And you look bad if you're you've got your head down. If you got your head, if you're in a person, in-person meeting, it's a little bit different. But I love that you brought that up. And even though I don't consider your creations doodling, I love that you brought that up again for me personally, because I used to doodle all the time in in-person meetings, especially, and it did like give me this this outlet. And that was a great reminder for me that why am I not using that as an outlet for like what I'm, daily, how I feel and what I'm going through.
Yeah,
So thank you, because yeah, I needed that reminder.
I think we do. I think we do need reminders. We're just so bombarded in life, and I think one thing I
Yeah.
do love about the doodling practice is it is grounding, and it gives you that chance to unwind. You're not really focused on it. It grounds you in the present moment. But you don't have any rules to it either. I just let whatever comes out, come out. I don't make it anything. I'm not being intentional about it. I'm just, there was an exercise that we did in one of my art classes in my undergrad in AA as I was pursuing my associate's degree. And that was a really fun time because I got to take a ceramics class, and I got to take an art class, filling some of the core, credits that I had to fill for general education. Um, and it really gave me an opportunity to explore my interests. But one of the exercises we did was just putting on the music and kind of doodling and making marks just to the beat and the rhythm of, the music that we were hearing. So you don't have to be a skilled artist. You don't have to be talented, whether you're doing it on a pen and paper with pen and paper, or you're doing it on your iPad with your finger or an Apple Pen. I think, the outcome is still going to be as impactful. It's finding what medium that you enjoy, and then being intentional about creating time and space, to do that as a form of self-care. Yeah. And it's fun. I think that's the other part. It's just, I look, there's so many wonderful groups. Don't get me wrong, art therapy, groups that are, or journeys for healing. But I'm really leaning towards embracing just the creating for the fun of it, right? Because we have so much going on. And that through our childlessness, one thing I felt that I had lost was having fun, just letting myself have fun, you know.
Yeah.
And for me,
Yeah.
creative outlets, whether I'm crafting or, you know, I would say cooking, but that's hilarious. That really, it ends up being less fun because it's such a disaster. But whatever the medium is, I'm trying to just express myself and letting myself have fun in the moment with the creative outlet that I've chosen. And if it's a mess, it's a mess. So you can't eat the cookies. Okay, I'm a terrible baker, so that's fine. So throw it out, and I'll move on to the next thing and keep exploring that part of myself. And I have been able to identify for myself some things. Writing is one, journaling. I love photography. I love photography, digital photography. I love digital design. You and I have a common love of Canva. We are not
Yes.
affiliated with
Yeah.
Canva at all. This is not,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
this is not like an advertisement, but we just love it. We've bonded over that, I think.
Yes. Yeah. I have to, if I go on Canva, again, we're not selling anything. I don't get any commission from them, but I have to set aside and specify how much time I'm going to spend, because otherwise I could stay on there for hours just creating things. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we just
Yes.
nerd out
Yeah.
because it's so
Yeah.
fun to use. So, and there's another form of creative activities, right? You've got your poetry. I
Yeah.
know that you like to write some poetry from time to time, and that's another form. So I think it's okay to give yourself, permission to have that freedom to explore, and maybe it is about having more than one medium. And so leaning into what it is that week. Because there are weeks where I'm like, I just don't even feel like sitting down to doodle. I'm gonna take a walk, and so I'll do things like, I'll get creative on my walk. Like, I'm going to look for all the things red today and how many things red can I find? And, just to help bring that mindfulness aspect to it. And then I might document that and compile a little video, for myself in Canva. It's just nice. You have snippets of these moments that I can collect and draw back to. Um, yeah. So that's just some things that I like to do.
Yeah. It's a great idea that I'm going to steal now.
You don't
Because
have to steal it. It's yours.
yeah,
You can have it.
it's just, yeah.
You
I
have your
mean,
share.
yeah, sometimes I go for a walk to, burn off energy, or just stop thinking about things that I don't want to keep thinking about. And I end up like, what do I do with this? And now it's like, yeah, create a challenge for yourself, or not a challenge, but um yeah, do something creative with it. So that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, they are. They're like my little mini challenges, creative mini challenge. Yeah, because I think we are so bombarded. Like, we'll get into something and like going on a walk, and you're right. The walk, you're not even like aware of your surroundings. You're not in the moment, and you're in your mind thinking about what has to be done. Or if you have a tough inner critic like I do, all the things that I should be doing, or I need to get here, I need to do this. And so, yeah, I think I've found creativity for me, just nurturing that has been really impactful in my journey. It's helped me build resilience um, to keep me moving forward on the path. Yeah, on the path.
And one point that you made that I really want to highlight is that you used this to bring fun back into your life, because I think it's common that we're afraid to have fun. To some degree, in some points it's difficult to have fun when you're grieving. But then we also reach a point where there's a little bit of, I don't know, guilt about having fun. Like, how can I be having fun when, I dreamt of this child who's not with me, and it feels like a betrayal of, one, your own desires, and two, the child you dreamed of. So I'm so glad you brought that up, that um, it's not just okay, but it's important to get yourself back to being able to find fun in life. Doesn't mean you're not sad about being childless. It's not dishonoring that pain. It's carrying it with you and finding that fun. So thank you for bringing that
Yeah.
point up.
Yeah, it's so true. And I mean, I felt all of that as well. And I think it's easy to get caught up in that when you feel a wave, the waves swell up. There's seasons. The holidays are tough. There's certain times a year, whether I'm around family or friends, and, those moments are there. Um, and so really letting myself have a moment to sit with that and feel it. Um, you know, I don't look at it as being a cure all, the creativity, but it is a way to help bring myself back to the moment. And also, it's helped me understand that in my identity work that I've been doing, who am I if I'm not a mother? Well, I'm all kinds of things. And one of them is I'm a creative person, I'm a creator. Um, you know, I wrote a piece of music when I was like a younger girl, I think in piano with my piano teacher. I composed a piece of piano music. Um, so that is something that I've created that's out there in the world. There was a period where I was working in a ceramic store, paint your own pottery store, and I learned ceramics and pottery, and I created pieces of art and just putting something out into the world that is mine, that I created, that is out there. Those type of things I think have really been impactful to me and my identity of who I am, and looking around the world and seeing how people are contributing beyond parenthood. The beautiful pieces that my husband makes. He's made some really incredible pieces of furniture and birdhouses, and just he's given them to other people. And I just love the sense of being able to almost cultivate a creative legacy beyond a biological legacy. People who write, people who create films. I mean, there's just so much to the human experience. It's so layered. And I think for me, it's just really helped me understand who I am beyond that, and that beautiful legacies are created from the heart, not the
Yeah.
womb. And so it's really been impactful in my healing process to be able to embrace that identity of being a creator. Yeah.
That was, yeah, that line is beautiful and so true. Um,
Yeah.
all right. So typically want the audience to have some takeaways. So what three takeaways would you have for my audience?
Okay, so I would say lean into your creativity, because it's going to show you things about yourself that you've forgotten, that new things about yourself. So lean into that, nurture it, care for yourself in that way. Yeah, look for ways to integrate the practice of creative self care into your daily wellness routine. Doesn't have to be a lot of time. You don't have to dedicate a whole lot of time to it. Even 5, 10 minutes of, emotional doodling is, or thoughtful journaling, the morning pages, practices like that are creative. So that can be a really great benefit in terms of holistic wellness and nurturing yourself through that childless grief journey. And then just like what I had said, that last takeaway, I really believe it with my heart. You'll hear me say it on social media, that beautiful legacies, they're created from the heart, not the womb. And so I think that you have an opportunity to create and cultivate your legacy, whether it's creative or a living legacy of who you are and how you interact with the world and how you move through the world. You have an opportunity to cultivate that now. And explore that and consider what you want to leave. What do you want to contribute? And just have fun. Fourth takeaway, just have fun with it.
You're allowed fourth.
Right? Just create for the fun of it, because gosh, we don't have enough fun. I'm not having enough fun in this journey. I don't know. So that's cool. It's just to do it for the joy of it as well. Right. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you took the time. And as you get closer to creating the creative community that you were planning,
a work in progress,
we will want to talk again so that people can hear about this.
Yes. So, yeah, definitely. And I'll just say, if you're interested in hearing about it more, or even maybe being a part of like the founders launch or soft beta launch, I'm aiming for December. And so you're welcome to connect with me at Well Then She Created on Instagram. You can just reach out and let me know you're interested. And then I can, one of the goals is to get something together officially, but if you just want to connect with me on Instagram, that's where we'll start. So
awesome. All right. And that sounds wonderful. And that information, so that information will also be in the show notes, so that you don't have to remember it unless you do and you're already on your phone moving over to to Instagram. That's awesome.
And Gail, thanks so much for having me here. It's been such a pleasure connecting with you. I really enjoy. We did a workshop a couple months ago. Was that just on using?
Yeah, right before Mother's
Day. Collage. Yep. Yeah, and it was such fun to work with you on that. I really enjoyed. Just it's such a blessing to have this connection with you throughout this journey. I think it's been really great.
Yeah.
So thank you.
For me as well. So thank you. All right. All right. Well, that is it for today's episode, and I will see you next week. Take care. Thanks for joining us.
Bye. Thanks. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Childless and Moving Onward. I hope this episode was helpful to you. If you liked what you heard, you can get more help from me with my guide, Steps to Overcome Self-Doubt and Feel Worthy When Being Childless Isn't by Choice. Click on the link in the episode notes, or you can find it on my website, pathonward.com. Until next week, thanks again for listening.